Hello and welcome to the show. Before we begin, I'd like to apologize because I'm making today's recording while the kids are back at home. That's because I've had a really busy day. I had a couple of appointments, and there's quite a backlog on the questions that we haven't answered on the show and some recent interviews that I've been doing. Well, not interviews per se. I've been having interesting chats with other people, Nigerian business people in different business contexts, and I would love to share their insight over here on the podcast. So things are piling up, so I figured let me just come on here and get this one out of the way. So just in case you hear children shouting in the background or somebody burst into the room, then that's what that interruption is all about. Now, before we continue, I'd like to give a summary for those of you who are listening to the show. If this is your first episode, because I spoke with a podcast listener not long ago, a couple of hours ago, and the person's first podcast episode was the last one that I published, which was kind of odd because since I share podcast episodes all over the place on LinkedIn, usually people get in touch with the podcast from the older episodes, and apparently most of the podcast listeners have listened to the first episode. So, yeah, so a summary for the benefit of people who are just catching us today. So, over the what the last narrative arc was about, just in case you listened to the last episode and you weren't able to piece things together, we were talking about creating strategy for founders and people in the SME space. SME meaning small and medium scale enterprises in Nigeria, small and medium scale enterprises. Now, we discussed ideas and we discussed principles that apply regardless of your city or product in coming up with your sales scenario. And the reason why I'm pointing that out is because the case study that we used was for a civil servant in Benue State in Makudi trying to get supplemental income by importing catfish from Lagos and Nembe local government in Bayelsa, and then using traditional culinary techniques just to spice it up, process it, and do all that nice stuff, and then sell it to people in Makudi Township. So, in the last 5, 6 episodes, I went through great pains to show that even though we're talking about catfish and Benue State, that the principles apply, even if we're talking about Washington, D.C. and computers. I believe in the podcast episode before last, I gave the example of Bill Gates just to show how each of these steps apply, no matter what it is that you're trying to do. Now, the key questions that you have to consider when coming up for your sales strategy are: number one, who should you be targeting? Who should you be chasing? What is your ideal customer profile? Those are the questions that you should be asking who might be interested in your product or your service. That's question number one. Because if you get that wrong, you're going to spend time chasing after people who you have no business chasing after, and you're going to waste lots of time and resources in chasing people that will not make good customers or business partners. Number two, what kind of distribution outlets should we be using? And then number three, we have to consider the kind of data that we're going to get, the kind of information, the kind of feedback that we're going to get from interacting with different stakeholders in the market and our customers, and how that can inform our business. Now, asking these three strategic questions has led us into the journey of knowing and understanding our potential customers or clients, brainstorming on distribution strategies, and then also, ruminating on the kind of data and insights that we need to listen to to grow your business. So, if this is your first time listening to the show and you're interested in coming up with a sales strategy for your business and you need some help with that, then listen to the last 4 or 5 episodes of the show, and you'll get access to all the cool stuff that we discussed absolutely free. If you need more hand holding, then feel free to reach out to me. The number is 080 Country code is +234 in case you're hitting me up from outside the shores of Nigeria. And my name is Tavishima Ayede, so connect with me on LinkedIn. After you're done listening to this episode, just check the link where you're listening to this audio and you get the correct spelling of my name and my email address. Now, the question that we're going to tackle today is how to overcome the fear of selling. In my usual manner, we're not going to tackle this question in one quick swoop because usually there are lots of subsets, lots of assumptions, lots of smaller things that we need to tackle so that at the end of the day, when we build everything back up, you have the fuller picture and you see how everything applies to your business. So, how to overcome the fear of selling? First of all, the first assumption that we need to tackle is selling something to be scared of. The question assumes that lots of people are afraid of selling. So let's tackle that. Is selling scary? Are people afraid of selling? And the answer is not all aspects of selling are scary. Because when you're trying to sell, part of the marketing mix that you're going to use involves selling over the internet or selling over print. Now, that is what people call copywriting and direct response marketing. So, people who make flyers, you are printing something. You make a website, that is print. Let's see what else. You're sending email, that is print, and that falls within the purview of copywriting or direct response marketing. Now, those are also selling skills. Now, these ones are less scary. Then there is selling in person or personal selling, which is what I specialize in. That's actually what I prefer. I think is the best way to move your business forward, because the personal selling skills that you have translate into not just closing the sale now, but it gives you the skills that you need to raise funds tomorrow when you're talking to potential investors, or to get strategic partnerships when you're talking to other stakeholders. So the skills that you get from personal selling, I think, far outweigh the benefits that you get from other, what I say, other disciplines, other practices in growing your business. Because you as the CEO, you as the founder, you as the chief business person, you as the visionary, the benefits that you're going to get if you lock down this skill, selling in person, personal selling, I think the advantages are huge. So we should all be paying attention to it. Even though, yes, at some point you're going to outsource your selling, but learning how to sell, it parlays well into fundraising, it parlays well into networking, parlays well into negotiating, it parlays well into a whole bunch of stuff. So, personal selling, that is where someone walks into the store, or someone calls you over the phone, or sends you a DM from Instagram or the website. Now, if someone sends you a DM from Instagram, yes, you are texting, and some people might say, isn't that copywriting? No. Even though it's text, the context is this. Personal selling usually involves a one to one context. So it is you sending a message to one individual, and that other individual is keenly aware that you guys are having a one to one interaction. So that is the key distinction. So if the interaction is happening through DM, but the other person on the other end knows, and you over here who is sending the message, you know that you're sending out broadcast messages, then that is not personal selling. Yes, maybe then you can think, maybe then we can consider it to be copywriting or direct response marketing. But if it's a one to one, a unique one to one interaction, and both of you are aware, you intend to make this a personal interaction, the other person perceives it to be a personal reaction, then we are in the realm of personal selling. Now, selling in print, that is copywriting, direct response marketing, all the other things I spoke about, is not scary. It's just a little confusing. So what most people do is either look for the principles, check YouTube videos, Google something, Google Bard, check Bard, have a chat with someone, and then they follow the principles, and that is the right and proper response to do. If it is confusing, if it's scary, look for someone who's going to shine the light and show you the way, and then try and apply it accordingly. Don't worry about it being perfect. If you keep doing it repeatedly, you get better with practice over time. The other option is to pay someone with copywriting expertise and have them do that instead. So, selling in print, copywriting, direct response, uh, you know, sitting behind the keyboard, sitting behind the keypad, website, all of that, not scary, just a little confusing sometimes. Now, selling to people in real time over the phone or talking to people in person is scary because of the prospects or because of the reality of personal rejection. The thing is, when you're having a chat with someone face to face, in fact, we young men, it's something that we know firsthand because, your little boy, you're 8 years old, you think girls are cute, and then you become 12, 13, 14, you want somebody to be your special friend, and then you go and try and have a conversation with her. it is absolutely nerve wracking. I mean, you girls think you get nervous. It's nothing to compare when you're a young boy. You think you have found the love of your life. As a 13-year-old, you're trying to walk up to her, you're trying to say hello, and there's the prospect that she might not be interested in you. She'd rather just go play with her friends, or maybe she's interested in Bio, who is sitting over there. So, when people say no, that is really, really scary. There's the prospect of people saying no. The person might say, leave me alone. The person might say, I'm not interested. The person might say, I don't eat fish. I don't like your insurance. Uh, come back. Maybe let's talk tomorrow. No, you're too expensive. Your product is too cheap. Your product is original. My sister bought something for half the price. All kinds of things. Now, all these things hurt because it is being said to our face. And a lot of us, whether you're a wedding photographer, whether you're starting in the catfish business, or whether you're selling insurance products, for some reason, we take this thing personal. Even though the person says your product is too cheap, somehow it sounds as if the person is saying you are cheap. So it hurts. Now, people also think these things when they come across print, direct response, email, things like that. But when somebody thinks all these things in response to your sales copy, your email that you send out, your billboard, your Instagram post, your LinkedIn newsletter, all those things, we don't hear these things to our face. That's the difference. Now, that's the reason why it's a lot easier to do sales in print rather than doing sales in person. And that is why a lot of people subconsciously, they don't realize it. That is why some people prefer to sit behind a keyboard and then see how much sales that they can generate. It's not necessarily because it is the best way to go. Yes, it lends itself to more scale because I can sit down, craft a message, hit send, and then that message is going to go out to 1 million people. So, yes, it scales more, but it's not necessarily the most effective depending on your particular business context or the goal that you're trying to achieve. So, excuse me. Sorry, my throat. It's the weather in Abuja. Where was I? Okay, yeah. So, yeah, that's the reason why people prefer to be keyboard warriors, more or less, because there's less prospects for rejection. Now, if this is you, if you run through these emotions, then don't feel bad and do not feel inadequate. It is a normal human response. I run into too many people who think that there's a problem with them because, oh, I can't talk on stage, or when it's time to talk to a customer, I feel shy, or I start to sweat, or I'm nervous, or maybe I'm introverted. Maybe it's because of how I was raised as a little girl, or okay, in my tribe, we are taught not to talk to strangers, blah, 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 blah. Don't feel bad. Don't feel inadequate. Stop making excuses. It has little to do with your personality type. It has little to do with your age. It has little to do with your sex, your race, or your creed. Well, apart from Seventh day Adventists and Jehovah's Witnesses, because they are in a unique position where they are taught to sell, they are taught to preach, they are taught to evangelize, that they are taught how to talk to strangers, knock on doors from a very young age. Well, living in Abuja, okay, well, when we got to Lagos, I didn't see too many of them. But living in Abuja, it wasn't strange for them to show up unannounced, knock on the door on a Saturday morning because they want to bring the good news to sinners like us who do not observe the Sabbath. Anyway, where was I? Okay, but what I'm just trying to say is that apart, if you're not raised in a context where you are taught how to face these fears head on as a child, then do not feel inadequate. Everybody goes through these feelings. Everybody would rather sit behind a computer or a keyboard and hope to make sales. So it is a normal feeling. Do not feel inadequate. Now, the good news that I'm bringing to you today is this: you can overcome this fear of selling and grow your business even bigger than what you have done so far. So, if you've been sitting behind a keyboard and you're currently doing, like 400K every month or something, trust me, you could do a whole lot better if you learn personal selling skills. So, behind the keyboard, you're doing good, you're smashing. If you learn personal selling skills, you get better at networking. Perhaps you find more business associates. You broaden the available audience that you have before you, and then the opportunities for income become larger. The knock on effects of this, I cannot underestimate it. So, you think you're doing good, learn some personal selling skills, you'll be surprised the avenues that are going to open up before you. So that's the good news. You can overcome this fear, you can grow your business better, and you don't have to join the Seventh day Adventists to make more money. You can keep being Yoruba Catholic boy, if that's who you are, or you can continue being the atheist Igbo girl, and you'll be fine. So, if you're already a Jehovah's Witness or a Seventh Day Adventist, okay, don't worry. Let me stop. Let me stop rapping on those people. Anyway, bottom line is, if you're raised in that kind of context where you know how to talk to strangers, no problem. Pay close attention to your pastors, your elders, your presbyters, but still listen to this podcast so that we can take the skills that you have and then apply them in a purely commercial context. Because yes, we should expand the kingdom of God, but then it would also be nice to expand the kingdom of our pockets so that we can handle school fees, internet, pay for fuel, pay for foreign travel, flex once in a while, and then send some money to our parents. So, this is the journey that we're going to begin on the podcast with the next recording. We are going to look into all the issues of how to overcome the fear of selling. So, yeah, that's it. That's the good stuff that we have to look forward to the next couple of days. So that's all for today, folks. Remember, you can connect with me on WhatsApp. The number is 080-6466-2140. The country code is +234. And please connect with me on LinkedIn. My name is Tabeshima Ayede. Don't worry about the strange name. You can confirm the spelling and my email address from the link where you're currently listening to this episode. So thank you very much for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys at the next recording.